200 miles of tunnels stretch beneath Las Vegas, 7 stories underground, a hidden city where over 1,500 people exist in total darkness. Some haven't seen daylight in years. Their hair turns white from the endless night. Above ground, luxury hotels rake in $15 billion annually, while beneath their feet, a forgotten America survives in the shadows. Violence echoes through these concrete corridors. Lives end without warning. This is their world, and most people walking the Vegas Strip have no idea it exists. Beneath the ground of Las Vegas stretches a flood control system extending roughly 200 miles. Over the years, this infrastructure designed to protect the city has become home to a hidden community. The entire network lies at a depth equivalent to a 7-story building below the surface. Artificial light becomes one of the rarest essentials in this environment. Many who have lived underground for years develop premature white hair, as if the darkness accelerates time itself. Some individuals haven't seen sunlight in months, even years, and may never see it again. Meanwhile, above ground, the city shines with luxury hotels, massive casinos, and entertainment venues attracting millions of visitors annually. Very few know what exists directly beneath this desert paradise. Prolonged darkness has gradually altered human thought and behavior in profound ways. Stories circulate of sudden violence, people who were fine one moment, gone the next. Some individuals were even born and raised entirely within this underground world. Most have no identification documents and choose to remain hidden to avoid complications with authorities. In this environment, even basic communication equipment struggles to function properly. The tunnel system appears on maps as a complex structure with an estimated 1,500 people residing within it. Each section has its own character and functions, like an underground neighborhood. Life below unfolds beyond the awareness of the world above ground. The journey continues deeper into intersecting passageways, where each tunnel connects to countless branches, opening into a dark maze few have fully explored. Descending further reveals a space where residents have formed lives of their own. Emergency supplies are essential. Medical intervention tools are carried at all times in case someone needs urgent help. When used properly, these can provide critical assistance, though their effects are temporary and professional medical care remains necessary. The process is straightforward but requires quick action. Access to this area requires experienced guidance. Only with someone who has survived here for years is safe entry possible. All access points are blocked with metal barriers to limit intrusion and reduce damage during flooding. Among the harshest experiences recorded inside, the most serious threat has always been flash flooding. Years ago, a major flood tragically claimed lives and destroyed countless makeshift homes. The geological characteristics of Las Vegas, with its extremely hard soil, prevent rainwater from soaking into the ground naturally. For this reason, the tunnel system was constructed to channel water underground, helping to prevent surface flooding. However, when rain occurs, all of that water rushes directly into these tunnels where people live. Even when weather in the city is clear, rainfall in mountainous areas 30 miles away can send floodwaters surging through within minutes. Each time such sudden disasters occur, someone in this vast underground city faces mortal danger. Inside, there is an enormous amount of accumulated debris. Warnings have been issued about the dangers of venturing deeper. The deeper sections are often avoided because of their unpredictability. No one knows for certain what exists further below. The space becomes increasingly narrow the deeper one goes, to the point where many sections require crawling to continue. Based on current understanding, the entire system lies at a depth equivalent to 7 stories underground. Hidden within are rooms embedded deep within tunnel branches, existing as auxiliary spaces where anyone can take shelter. In this environment, danger is ever present. From potential arrests to violent encounters, human life here holds diminished value. Despite facing countless threats deep underground, people continue to enter and adapt to absolute darkness. The feeling of remaining here is one of dense gloom, a heavy darkness that nearly swallows all perception. Among the most harrowing experiences was an incident involving a confrontation with multiple individuals. One person charged forward with a blade, clearly the aggressor. the situation was ultimately handled through quick thinking and survival instincts. To stay alive, crude but decisive measures were employed. An improvised defensive tool was created from available materials. A container tipped sideways, fitted with supports, transformed into emergency protection. This self-made device became the critical factor in preserving life at the most dangerous moment. Entering another person's space within the tunnels always carries risk, as each step can mean crossing into someone's claimed territory. During movement, the need for light becomes critical, with flashlights being almost mandatory to check surroundings and avoid hazards. There have been cases of people in distress receiving emergency assistance from others. For those who truly understand navigation, moving deep underground without returning to the surface is entirely possible. Once the structure of the system is understood, travel through the tunnels becomes feasible as they are essentially all connected. They form a network of interwoven passageways, creating a vast maze. While it doesn't offer the sense of safety of a home, entering dangerous areas without prior warning always carries the risk of severe consequences. Some individuals carry weapons and are prepared to use them without hesitation. The sound of traffic from above echoes clearly, completely unobstructed. At certain points, it becomes evident that this space lies directly beneath the city center, where vehicles move straight over the heads of those living underground. This is one of the rare moments when sunlight appears, revealing the city above, a world they don't belong to and can only observe from below. The scene above feels like an illusion, completely concealing the reality underneath. Just steps away, the famous casino district comes into view through metal grating. Above ground, Nevada casinos generate more than $15 billion in revenue each year. In complete contrast, below lies life inside the city's hidden margins. Twice daily, water filtration systems malfunction, causing certain areas to remain damp even when there's been no rain for extended periods. A strong odor fills the space. In some tunnels, wastewater from the city's drainage system flows through, and some people are forced to use that water for basic hygiene. The tunnel network in many areas is extremely dense, and without someone who knows the routes well, navigation is nearly impossible. A single wrong turn is enough to become completely lost. On tunnel walls, messages have been left, memorial tributes beside solitary crosses. Signs that people have passed through remain visible. Many bicycles are scattered around, some homemade and then traded or sold. In this environment, bicycles serve the same role as cars, becoming the only means of transportation. Without one, movement must be done on foot, an exhausting experience within the narrow confines. There are people who have lived here for years without using flashlights. Navigation in darkness is done by placing a hand on the wall and relying entirely on memory. Every corner and turn is clearly remembered because, for them, the tunnel is home. The space feels familiar despite its harsh conditions. When a voice suddenly echoes through the tunnel, the atmosphere immediately changes, becoming tense and alert. The dark and damp environment, enough to make one's skin crawl, is nevertheless where some people find a sense of security and choose to live long-term. One resident's story reveals another layer of this reality. Though everything may look chaotic on the surface, every single item holds life-saving significance for those who live here. After years connected to the tunnel system, there was once a period when community existed here, people coming together to form a rare sense of mutual support deep underground. Over time, that atmosphere gradually disappeared. Some began thinking only of their own interests, willing to harm others. There was an incident where someone deliberately set a fire targeting another resident seen as threatening. The flames didn't cause direct injury but nearly claimed the life of the person's only companion, a small animal. The creature was severely burned from nose to tail. Days after the incident, it miraculously survived, an outcome considered nothing short of extraordinary. Living conditions are extremely limited, and even basic sanitation must be carried out in makeshift areas, usually with nothing more than a bucket lined with a bag. The future remains uncertain. There is hope that life will improve, though change comes slowly. As people age, physical strength gradually declines, and opportunities for transition become more challenging. After being guided underground, Residents often return to their claimed areas. Essential supplies are sometimes left with them to help sustain life for days ahead. While exploration continues deeper into the system, unexpected situations are always lurking. Anyone can appear, seize belongings, attack, and then disappear without a trace. There are no witnesses and no timely intervention like there is on the surface. Life underground exists as another layer of reality where familiar rules become blurred. The present moment may feel peaceful, but hours later, encountering the wrong person can quickly turn everything into a nightmare. The deeper one goes, the greater the uncertainty becomes, and no one can predict what lies ahead. In such harsh conditions, some people improvise cooking equipment and use hand sanitizer as a heat source to maintain daily meals. This area is filled with rats, an unavoidable reality in a dark and damp environment. From ahead, an echoing sound carries through, guiding the way deeper inside. Some people reflect that they acted impulsively when coming to Las Vegas, then developed relationships locally, and ultimately had their lives diverted into these tunnels. This place gathers people of similar origins, drifting through similar circumstances. The length of time people live here can extend to 5 years or more, and plans are usually made only for the present, sometimes only for that day. Life here is rarely planned far into the future. Among the worst aspects, the lack of proper drainage is considered most serious. When darkness persists, feelings of discomfort intensify because no one can endure being submerged in darkness indefinitely. That fear resembles a primitive panic, similar to instinctive reactions. The darkness here isn't simply the absence of light, but something that envelops people and makes them feel erased from the world above. To survive, many rely on resourcefulness, scavenging through discarded items or collecting recyclable materials such as cables or copper wire that can be exchanged for necessities. Others search for items left behind by intoxicated tourists. It's not uncommon for visitors to spend thousands of dollars on luxury items at high-end stores, then win small amounts from slot machines. In states of excitement, they leave expensive purchases behind to cash out winnings, only realizing what happened days later after being immersed in alcohol and harsh sunlight. For wealthy visitors, losing tens of thousands of dollars daily is considered part of the experience they came for. The loss of massive amounts to machines is viewed as part of a lifestyle where luxury, decadence, and excess become the very qualities that attract tourism. This contrast is what makes Las Vegas both a destination and a paradox. One long-term resident appears, having lived underground for approximately 8 or 9 years. When rain falls, conditions become especially terrifying. There have been times when people were trapped, and despair led some to believe they would never escape. Viewing Las Vegas from this perspective reveals that much of the city is merely a glamorous facade constructed to dazzle. Massive casinos aren't built on winners, but on those who lose. Living spaces are rarely fixed, as constant movement is almost unavoidable. When asked about the greatest difficulty of life here, years of accumulated frustration condense into a single concept: other people. Even deep underground, belongings are scattered everywhere. Some are swept away by floodwaters while others are brought in using shopping carts, creating scenes of endless chaos. After continued movement through the tunnels, an unusual shadow suddenly stretches across the wall ahead. In that tense moment, peaceful intentions must be made clear, affirming there is no threat or intent to cause harm. In that darkness, no one can know exactly what lies ahead. Debris is piled everywhere, creating a chaotic and oppressive scene. One man appears, and initial contact is made by offering basic supplies. He invites visitors into his small tent. The space serves as sleeping quarters, storage for clothes, and functions as a makeshift workspace. 6 years ago, he moved to Las Vegas alone. His parents passed away in 2018. For about 2 years, he has lived underground. Finding water and food requires various strategies, from accessing public resources to relying on assistance programs. In extreme situations, theft becomes a last resort for survival. The only way to remain safe is to maintain constant awareness, much like in any dangerous environment. On his forehead is a large scar, the mark of being struck with a wooden object, requiring multiple stitches. The incident occurred inside the tunnel and began with a dispute over a bicycle. an item of high value heavily sought after in this area. He once witnessed someone being killed. The sound of footsteps echoed, followed by 2 gunshots. The victim was shot in the back and neck, then appeared directly before him in a white shirt that quickly turned red. The shooter was the victim's own brother. Life in prolonged darkness places immense pressure on the human mind. Not everyone can endure it. Some people haven't seen sunlight for extended periods and may never see it again. Many living here develop premature white hair, a rare and troubling phenomenon. At night, there's often the sensation that someone is moving outside makeshift shelters, but when checking, nothing is there. In this environment, no one can predict who they might encounter. Most people living underground have lost their identification documents and never recovered them. Without identification, they cannot apply for jobs, rent housing, or access social services. Within the system, they essentially don't exist. This is a major barrier, but it's not the only problem. Even if documents were restored, many would still face challenges if underlying issues aren't resolved. Mental health struggles, trauma, and many other complex factors have simultaneously pushed people into cycles that feel impossible to escape. There was a period of homelessness lasting years. During one late-night walk, the sight of people fighting with weapons appeared. The sound of metal clashing, blood being spilled, and a sense of emotional numbness followed. Such images gradually became familiar, leaving psychological damage while also desensitizing people to violence. One person once lived in a house with a swimming pool. After retirement, circumstances gradually spiraled downward. In this place, communication equipment barely functions, which unintentionally attracts more people seeking invisibility. Some individuals have lived underground for 8 to 10 years. Among the most frightening experiences, flooding remains the greatest threat. In just about 10 minutes, water levels can rise dramatically. There is no warning system other than the sound of rushing water, and by the time it's recognized, it's often too late. Warning signs once appeared, stating that floodwaters never fail to come. Reality has repeatedly proven this true. Many lives have been affected. One of the greatest losses for people living here is losing everything accumulated over many years in a single moment. Just weeks after these stories were recorded, news confirmed that one long-term resident had passed away. As exploration continues deeper, layers of mineral deposits clinging to the ceiling appear. These accumulated streaks indicate that water continuously seeps through, rich in calcium. These signs reflect that rainwater has flowed into the system many times. No one knows exactly how many makeshift homes have been destroyed or how many lives have been swept away by previous floods. A memorial area appears deep underground, built to remember someone who passed away. There are flowers placed with quiet respect. When floods suddenly strike, people have only about 20 minutes to reach safety or risk being trapped by rushing water or debris carried ahead of the flow. The tunnels are often covered with standing water, and constant ventilation makes cold, damp air cling to everything. The ground beneath is a mixture of wastewater, debris, and waste, all gradually soaking into footwear. Refuse appears everywhere, mixed with deceased animals. Water has completely soaked through, but this has become something familiar. Life is forced to continue. Movement through the tunnels continues in search of longtime residents, some who have lived here for more than a decade. Gray walls covered in moisture and mineral deposits gradually begin to show unusual patches of color. Suddenly, the space opens up like an underground workshop. A gallery has been built entirely by hand, using salvaged materials. However, just one heavy rain could wash the entire structure away without a trace. One person's living area is constructed from recycled materials. Baby strollers, bags, toys, and various miscellaneous items appear everywhere, yet everything is arranged with unexpected order. This resident has lived in these frequently flooded tunnels for nearly 8 or 9 years. When first arriving, all personal belongings were lost, including identification documents. Everything began with just $27. There is no place that feels truly safe. Risk comes from other residents and even from authorities. For this person, this is the space where each day begins and ends. When discovered in this area, consequences can include detention for trespassing. The tunnel area is under government control and designated as a flood zone. Citations can occur for many different reasons, even simply for being in certain locations. These individuals are often viewed as unwelcome, barred from most public spaces, and nearly excluded from society. Most of the public tends to view them as potential threats, but many are exhausted by that perception. Over time, they've been forced to develop their own methods of survival. Inside the tunnels, there is limited access to food or clean water. Water sources are often contaminated. Food mainly comes from what others have discarded, and most belongings come from salvaging discarded items. Personal hygiene is carried out in extremely minimal ways, often using nothing more than a bucket. One resident's eyes were severely damaged in a violent incident, leaving unclear memories of what happened. Among the most disturbing experiences, some believe paranormal phenomena are most troubling. There's a feeling that something is always present, capable of moving objects, making items disappear, and even shifting sleeping surfaces. The entity can also imitate human voices calling out from deep within the tunnels. According to descriptions, the figure resembles a very thin form, unusually tall with distinctive features, moving in unnaturally smooth ways. In complete darkness, shapes still appear clearly, even darker than black itself, carrying chilling sensations as if lowering surrounding temperature. Thoughts about the future almost don't exist. The image of years ahead is vague, sometimes imagined as ending. The harsh reality is that anyone is only 2 paychecks away from homelessness. Each tunnel section has its own identity shaped by the people living inside it. Used medical supplies appear everywhere, creating unsanitary and frightening environments. Life here is not considered true living. Connections with family still exist, but only at minimal levels. Relatives don't ask many questions about current situations. Before falling into this circumstance, one person was a family man with 2 sons and 1 daughter, all of whom still live in the city. His son turned 17 recently. Their most recent meeting took place 10 years ago. Right at the spot where they stood, someone had died from an overdose just the night before. Death came quickly and quietly, underscoring the fragility of human life. Reality shows that nearly 7 out of 10 Americans live paycheck to paycheck, struggling to maintain stability. For many people, just one unexpected event is enough to cause entire financial foundations to collapse. From deep within these tunnels, the lights of the casino district can still be seen in the distance, creating a stark contrast between the luxurious world above and the dark reality below. This isn't just a story about tunnels beneath Las Vegas. This is a story about America, about what happens when fellow human beings fall through the cracks of society while we walk right over them, oblivious to their existence. These aren't statistics. These aren't labels or stereotypes. These are fathers, sons, veterans, and workers who once had homes, jobs, and dreams just like anyone else. One person was a family man with 3 children. Another lived in a house with a swimming pool. They had communities, futures, and hopes. They're not so different from you or me. They're just 2 paychecks away, just one medical emergency away, just one bad decision away from where we stand today. The harsh truth? In America, the wealthiest nation on earth, we've created a society where people can live literally beneath our feet in 7-story deep tunnels, and millions walk the Vegas Strip without knowing, without caring, without stopping to think about the invisible Americans below. But here's what gives me hope. You're still watching. You haven't turned away. That matters more than you know. The fact that you've stayed until this moment means something. It means you see them not as problems to be hidden, but as human beings deserving of dignity, opportunity, and hope. If this story touched your heart, don't let that feeling fade when the video ends. Share this story. Show someone else this hidden reality. Support organizations fighting homelessness and mental health crises in your community. Even small actions create change. Even $5 provides a meal. Even one share shifts a perspective. Even one voice starts a conversation that could save a life. Nearly 7 out of 10 Americans live paycheck to paycheck. One unexpected medical bill, one job loss, one crisis. And any of us could be 2 paychecks away from this same darkness. This isn't about them. This is about us. This is about what kind of society we choose to build. These forgotten Americans are still waiting, waiting in the darkness for a society that remembers they exist. Waiting for hands reaching down to help them climb back up, not handouts, but genuine opportunities. Waiting to be seen not as shadows to ignore, but as human beings who deserve a second chance. Don't just watch and forget. Be the light in someone's darkness, not through a crack in a tunnel ceiling, but through a society that refuses to abandon its own. The question isn't whether they deserve better. The question is, what kind of America do we want to be? One that walks over the forgotten, or one that reaches down to lift them up? The choice is ours. The time is now.